Hello and welcome to another edition of MLB Pro Happy Hour. I am your anonymous GM and we are here today live on YouTube. We're taking our place back as the home of Happy Hour. We've had our three slurred minutes. Apparently, I have these slurred minutes here tonight from Brenton. I want to thank Brenton tremendously for all of his contributions here on the official MLB Pro YouTube channel. Brenton, you have been fantastic. And I know you might be hopping on here soon, it seems like, whether that's tonight or later this weekend. Either way, we have some MLB Pro to discuss. Matt has shared the live sim page with me, so we're going to take a quick look at today's starters before the games take place. We're still at 10:15 in the morning here. I'm going to look at the starters. We're going to look at the starters of games, we're going to look at the draft, and then we're going to get into the games hopefully you're starting around then. But later today, we have in the American League the Chicago White Sox taking on the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto, a veteran matchup between Gio Gonzalez and Justin Verlander. Same time, New York against Tampa Bay, the Yankees and Rays. We have Matt Barnes, who has struggled early on in his Yankee career, going 1-4 with a 6.87 ERA against Brett Marshall, who was brought in from Seattle. Marshall is 4-2 with a 2.53 ERA for the first place Tampa Bay Rays. Elsewhere on the East Coast, we have the Los Angeles Angels, losers of two straight, with Kyle Funkhauser on the mound against the Baltimore Orioles and Brady Aiken. The West Coast team traveling to the East Coast trend continues in another AL West, AL East matchup between the Seattle Mariners and the Boston Red Sox. Justin Hooper, 4-2, 2.52 ERA against the Boston Red Sox. Juan Garcia, who does not have a win or loss on the season. At 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we have an interleague battle between the Philadelphia Phillies and Kansas City Royals. Pedro Magana, 0-1, 2.01 ERA against the Royals. Domingo Tapia, 0-2, 5.28 ERA on the season. 5:05 first pitch on the West Coast. 6:05, or is it 7:05? Timeout in Houston. In the Battle of the Lone Star State, James Kaprielian, 4-1 with a sub-2 ERA, takes on the Houston Astros. Melvin Garner, 3-3, 3.27 ERA. AL Central battle between the third-place Detroit Tigers, who come into today 19-18, with Jose Campos on the mound, taking on the first-place Minnesota Twins and Kevia Sampson. And then we finish up in the American League at 7:05 first pitch out on the West Coast. The Cleveland Indians, David Price, 3-4, 4.14 ERA, takes on the Oakland A's. John Larson Price, of course, a former Oakland A. Over in the National League today, we have the Miami Marlins, Lance McCullers, 1-2, 2.74 ERA, taking on the New York Mets and Matt Harvey, 2-2, 3.57 ERA. 5 o'clock West Coast time, with the game taking place in Chicago. Milwaukee Brewers, Adrian Castillo, his debut on the season, taking on the Cubs' Madison Bumgarner. Slightly later, a few minutes later rather, the Pittsburgh Pirates' Chris Scalise takes on the first place National League best St. Louis Cardinals and Jeffrey LeBlanc. The Atlanta Braves are out on the West, taking on the Diamondbacks. Chris Gray against Michael Wacha. A battle between National League West foes, the San Diego Padres and Jacob DeRosa, 1-3, 4.95 ERA, taking on Ronald Dunham, 3-1 on the season. And then we finish with two games out in California. The Washington Nationals taking on the Dodgers, Cole Swanson against Gabriel Guerrero, and the Cincinnati Reds with Matthew Spalding taking on Taylor Cherry and the San Francisco Giants. Before we get into the games, it's still only noon on the clock, so we're still a couple hours before first pitch here. I wanted to take a second and look at the first round of the draft. We're now, midway through the third round of the draft? We're midway through the third round of the draft. But I wanted to look back at the first round. In the first round, we had, I think, a few surprises. I think there were a few picks where I don't think anyone was surprised. Things, of course, kicked off with Chicago, the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs' 2018 season was one I think Cub fans will soon forget. A season I think Justin Jabs didn't expect maybe to go as south as quickly as it did and as far south as it ultimately did. I think there was some expectations early on that things would be bright in Chicago, and they didn't turn out that way. But with that comes the pressure, in a sense, of a first pick. It comes the expectations of what can a team do, and all off season, I was able to talk to a source within the organization. They were committed to getting this right. I was able to talk to the source, and here's a quote I was given. We invested heavily in this draft in terms of scouting dollars. We maxed out the allocation and put 95% more towards the amateur draft. Our scouting director is incredibly skilled in the area. With over $30 million behind him, we were confident that we were going to be able to get the best reports possible. And what did that lead to? It led to the drafting of a 17-year-old at the time from Puerto Rico, Matthew Lugo, who I am told the Cubs viewed as the best bat on the entire draft board. They think he can hit for average. They think he can hit for power. They think he has a tremendous eye. You pair that with his age, again, 17 when they drafted him, with the ability to play up the middle, and with terrific intangibles. They are fantastic. They believe they have hit a home run with Matthew Lugo. Shortly after Matthew Lugo came the Boston Red Sox, another team with a storied history that had come with a disappointing recent run here in MLB Pro. General manager Brett Jackson needed a change. He needed someone who could come in several years down the line and be a driving force behind a rebuild. And they believe they hit a home run with Sawyer Cleveland from the University of Portland. 306 average, 556 slugging percentage, 12 home runs, led the West Coast Conference. 6'5" right fielder with huge power potential. He's a plus defender. He's a middle of the order bat down the line for the Boston Red Sox. The Detroit Tigers, under their new general manager Jim, in his, I believe, his first draft here in MLB Pro, took Jake Venables from Clemson, the son of Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables, a former football standout who quit football to focus on baseball entering his senior year of high school. Venables this past year hit 17 homers, 34 stolen bases with the Clemson Tigers. He's a center fielder for now. There are some question marks if he can remain in center field. But again, 17 homers, 34 at bat, 34 stolen bases in the ACC this year for Clemson. A terrific outfielder for many years to come. The Cleveland Indians were the second American League Central team to draft, and another team who went to the SEC. Or I guess, rather, the SEC, Clemson from the ACC. Anyways, Cleveland, Will McCoy, Auburn, a terrific ability to put on play. There's no power whatsoever, but a plus arm, terrific speed, top of the order, probably best suited for left field, but someone that the Cleveland Indians were ecstatic to draft in the top 5 of the draft. The Chicago White Sox went behind the plate a high school catcher in Tim Allen. Some call him a young Joe Mauer. Plus power pairs with a plus bat. He hit .523 and on-base percentage above .600. He will need to work on his defense, and there are concerns about his work ethic. Everything in baseball has come easily to Allen so far. Does he have the drive to get better, or has this just been him playing on his God-given abilities so far? Taking a look around the league quickly, we have the Tampa Bay jumping out to an early 4-0 lead against the Yankees. The Angels up 3-0. Over Baltimore, Caleb Cowherd just drove in another run on the season. The Marlins with a quick 1-0 lead on the Mets. With the 6th pick in the draft, I think we had the easiest pick to project. The New York Yankees under Rhett Parker were going to take a power hitter. Everyone knew it. And they did. They took Brian Owen out of Long Beach State, power hitting first baseman, 19 homers, an OPS well over 1,000 at Long Beach State this year. An easy pick for Rhett and the Yankees to make. 7th, we had the Houston Astros, Zach Thompson, a starting pitcher out of Vanderbilt, the first pitcher off the board, plus curveball, deceptive fastball that clocks in at the mid-90s. He joins a loaded Astros system that we've talked about plenty of times here on Happy Hour. But you have the likes of Tim James, Juan DeFila, Jesse Patterson. Zach Thompson is going to fit in perfectly in Houston. The Pittsburgh Pirates in the 8th spot took Reese Hines, the 18-year-old shortstop out of St. Petersburg High School, St. Petersburg, Florida. Elite defender, strong bat. About a month ago, I think there were some baseball insiders that felt maybe he was going to go to Florida State. Hines has made that perfectly clear. He has no desire to go to college. At this point, he wants to play professional baseball. He's excited to join the Pittsburgh Pirates organization, and he wants to help turn that organization around. The 9th spot saw the son of a former major leaguer, Brandon Grieve, son of 9-year veteran Ben Grieve, get taken here by the Miami Marlins. Like father, like son, power bat. It is easy to project. Brandon is a 25 home run hitter down the line. The Oakland A's took the 2nd pitcher, the first high school pitcher of the draft, Jacob Clark out of College Station, Texas. College Station, Texas, some, again, expected him to go to Texas A&M. Like Reese Hines, he's made this perfectly clear. Jacob Clark is signing with the Oakland A's. 9-0, 133 strikeouts and 89 innings pitched, 13.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. An electric pitcher, young, but the potential to lead a rotation for years to come down the line. 4-0 Chicago Cubs, 4 quick first inning runs for the Cubs. Madison Bumgarner pitching ahead. There, back to the draft, Tony Huggins, the 11th pick, St. Louis Cardinals, University of Michigan. Quite simply one of the best college bats. 15 homers for Michigan. Easy to see what the Cardinals liked there. At the 12th spot, we had the Arizona Diamondbacks going behind the plate with the best college catcher in Adley Rutschman from Oregon State, plus power. Unlike Tim Allen, Adley is a terrific defender. He does need to cut down on his strikeouts. He strikes out way too much, something that Arizona will have to teach Rutschman behind the plate. But someone who, paired with the young pitchers Arizona has, could be a terrific future there in Arizona. Cincinnati in the 13th spot took Robert Bannatyne from Olivet High School in Michigan, a future leadoff hitter. Let's just put it that way. Runner-up in the state's 100-meter dash, stole 31 bases. He was caught just 5 times. He has the potential to be a Gold Glove-winning outfielder. He can do it all in the outfield. Someone that I think maybe went a little too high considering his lack of power, but we've seen that be popular here in the draft. He is the second player, much like Cleveland's first-round pick, to be taken on the prospects of being a future number 1 hitter in a lineup. The Milwaukee Brewers draft pick came at an interesting time, obviously, just as their general manager left ship and jumped ship, rather, and headed to Philadelphia. The Brewers used their remaining front staff and was able to select Forrest Whitley out of Rice University, 8-1, 2.3 ERA, 12.2 strikeouts per 9. There's some concerns that someone who started at Rice for 4 years and was as successful as Whitley is, that he was never voted a team captain. Does he have what it takes to be a leader in a Milwaukee Brewers uniform for years to come? The red-hot Colorado Rockies, a team that will not be drafting anywhere near the 15 spot next season, it looks like, took Matt Cronin from the University of Arkansas. Cronin came into the year as someone projected to be a top 5 pick, but had a very disappointing year. He went 8-5. His ERA was in the mid-3s. He struck out fewer than 9 batters per 9 innings. He was an All-SEC performer last year, but did not make an All-SEC team this year. He is notably a terrific ground ball pitcher, something that I think we all assume was very important for the Colorado Rockies organization. The Philadelphia Phillies went to the West Coast and drafted University of California Irvine shortstop Charlie Harper, a five-tool potential player, co-Big West Player of the Year with Brian Owen, the Yankees' first-round pick. Some inside the Philadelphia Phillies organization believe Harper can go two ways. Look for him to be given a chance to pitch as well as play shortstop. Expect him to begin the year likely in A-ball. Do not expect to see Charlie Harper in short season A or rookie league. The 17th pick of the first round this year went to the Texas Rangers, who took Riley Green, the University Christian High School outfielder. Green hit .446 this past season, scoring 46 runs in 26 games. He struck out 6 times. Again, Riley Green hit .446. He scored 46 runs in 26 games. He struck out 6 times. A terrific bat, one of the best bats in the draft. 18, we had Tampa Bay taking shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. out of Horizon High School, El Paso, Texas. The first of 2 in a row sons of former major leaguers. This, of course, Bobby Witt, terrific athleticism, can run, hit, long swing, needs to cut down on strikeouts. If he can do that, Bobby Witt can have a very successful career in MLB Pro. The San Diego Padres took the 3rd catcher of the draft, the 2nd college catcher of the draft, Luke Berryhill, son of Damon Berryhill out of the University of San Francisco, an NCAA all-academic team member, can carry any pitching staff, will his bat grow. But when we look at the San Diego Padres, we look at Petco Field, we look at Michael Matula, and we look at Broderick Wilson, Luke Berryhill could be exactly what that team needs here down the line. The run of National League West draftees continues with the San Francisco Giants, who held the 20th pick. They took Christian Graham out of the University of Northern Colorado, 10-3, 2.33 ERA, 153 strikeouts, 23 walks in 120 innings for the Bears. Graham throws very hard. He has a large arsenal of off-speed pitches. But some question, is it a matter of quantity over quality? Does he have the quality secondary pitches to become a front-of-the-rotation pitcher down the line? Score updates before we get to the final few picks of the draft. And we're in the 9th inning here. The Toronto Blue Jays up 4-2. The Angels in the 9th up 5-3 on Baltimore. 9th inning, the Seattle Mariners are shutting out the Boston Red Sox. Justin Hooper currently working on a 4-hit shutout, but they're actually going to take him out after a Dominic Brown single, so Hooper will go 8 1/3, 4 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. The Philadelphia Phillies behind Pedro Magana, 6 innings, 2 hits, 4-0 lead on the Kansas City Royals. We have a final Justin Verlander, now 4-3 on the season as the Blue Jays win 4-3 over the White Sox. We're going to take an in-game look here. Baltimore runner on first down 2. Travis Jankowski up at the plate against the Angels closer Paul Erickson. Erickson gets Jankowski. The Angels win 5-3. Funkhauser 3-2. Aiken 1-6. The Mariners now final 4-1. The run was charged to Hooper. Hooper finishes 8 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run allowed. Quick run of the scores of current games. Again, Phillies 4-0 leaders over the Royals. Houston up 6-0 on Texas. The Twins up 3-2 on Detroit. Oakland with 3 in the first against Cleveland. In the National League, the Cubs lead is now 7-6 over the Brewers. The Pirates are up 4-3 on St. Louis. Atlanta 8-0 leaders early against Arizona. The Rockies 4-1 leaders over the Padres. The Padres with 3 errors in the first 5 innings. 0-0 in the second in LA between the Dodgers and Nationals. The Giants lead 2-0 over the Reds in San Francisco. Back to the draft here to run down our final few picks of the first round. We just went over Graham. The Dodgers, Lenny Torres, Lane High School, Brooklyn, New York. The New York State High School Baseball Player of the Year. 9-0, 155 strikeouts, 86 innings pitched. Terrific fastball, but an even better slider. The potential 2-pitch combo to be a strikeout king in MLB Pro. It's that simple. Lenny Torres has it all. Can he lead the Dodgers down the line? The Kansas City Royals first baseman David Moyne out of Morehead State, 5'11", but swings a big bat, much like his predecessor, Rhett Parker, current GM in Kansas City. Rob believes in the power bat and the Royals got that with David Boyne. The New York Mets, at least one of the premier franchises in the National League behind Bruce, took Nick Lodolo out of Rice University, the second Rice Owl taken in the first round. Obviously, we talked about Forrest Whitley earlier with Milwaukee. Lodolo, 159 strikeouts this past season, the eighth Rice pitcher in school history to eclipse 150 strikeouts. Like the previous pitcher, Lenny Torres, Lodolo, elite curveball. If Torres had the best slider in the draft, Lodolo might have the best curveball in the draft. Someone the Mets can build and could see a role as a Mets ace down the line. And the Minnesota Twins, Seacrest Day County High School, Naples, Florida, center fielder Jeffrey Hoffman. A two-sport star in high school, wide receiver on the football team, had dozens of offers to ACC and SEC schools. Ultimately, though, expect him to play baseball. Elite speed, great contact. We're seeing it now in the contact speed combo of Martin Lopez in Minnesota. The Twins need guys that can get on base in front of Gary Copeland. And Gary Copeland's not going away from Minnesota anytime soon. So down the line, look for Jeffrey Hoffman to be hitting in front of Gary Copeland and scoring a ton of runs. 3 more picks to get through here in the first round of the draft. We had Matthew Thompson going number 25 overall to the Seattle Mariners, Edison High School, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Scouts have an easy comparison for Matthew Thompson. He's a young Danny Hultzen. And if the Mariners are able to get anything close to another Danny Hultzen at 25, well, the Mariners come out ahead. At 26, the Baltimore Orioles took University of Washington star Michael Toglia. It's been a disappointing year at Washington. Toglia battled shoulder injuries early on in the year. He finished strong in the Pac-12 tournament. The Huskies ultimately fell short of making it to Omaha, but a power bat that could be the center of an Orioles lineup for years to come. Toglia led the Pac-12 in homers last year. Immense power to all field. The final pick of the first round, the Los Angeles Angels took Alex Hultzen. And I'm sure by now you're thinking, and it's been discussed, Hultzen, could it be? It is. Danny Hultzen's younger brother, Danny Hultzen, of course, of the Seattle Mariners, someone who has tormented the Angels. His younger brother goes to the Angels. Hultzen 10-2, 2.7 ERA, 140 strikeouts, 33 walks this past year. It mirrors Danny's 2010 sophomore season at Virginia. Danny that year was 11-1 with a 2.78 ERA, 123 strikeouts, 24 walks in 106 innings pitched. I think the Angels here, they wanted their own version of Danny Hultzen, and again, it'll be interesting to see the comparison between Matthew Thompson and Alex Hultzen. Who can be more like Danny Hultzen as their careers go along? As we take a look at our scores, let's look into games here a little bit. Well, first a rundown, then we'll get to the games currently going on. The Twins, Stephen Inch gets the win as the Twins take down the Tigers 4-2. The Phillies do, in fact, shut out the Royals 4-0. Pedro Magana with the 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, but gets the job done. There were 2 home runs for J.P. Ramirez. The shutout train continues as the Houston Astros shut out the Texas Rangers 6-0. The Rangers held to just 3 hits on the day. Over in the National League, we had a shutout for Lance McCullers, as we're going to get to here in a minute. Lance McCullers has been terrific, and the Miami Marlins, I think, are a team that we need to open our eyes to here quickly. The Marlins take down the Mets 2-0. The Cubs in their 4-0 first inning lead hold on to beat the Brewers 7-6. Madison Bumgarner moves to 3-3 on the season. Adrian Castillo, loser in his first game of 2019 at the big league level. The Pirates take down the first place Cardinals in extra innings. It took 11 innings, but the Pirates win 6-4. The ball is flying out today in St. Louis. Homers for Josh Bell, Michael Conforto, Tyler Nyquin, and Andrew Douglas. The Pirates 6-4 winners. The Rockies continue just to play terrific ball, potentially the best team in baseball. We're going to talk about them here in a little bit. 8-3 winners over the Padres. Ronald Dunham 4-1 on the season. The Braves 11-2 winners over the Diamondbacks. Things did not go well for Arizona, but homers in that game for George Springer, Keon Barnum, and Armando Carbanas. But our late action, let's take a look into Los Angeles. The Washington Nationals currently 4-3 lead on the Dodgers here in the 8th inning. Runner on first base, 2 outs for Larry Green. Jonathan Martinez, Dodgers giving him a second inning here, and he's able to get Green out. That heads to the bottom of the 8th. Elsewhere, the Giants 11-2 lead on the Reds. The Indians 8-5 lead in Oakland over the A's. If there are any topics anyone wants covered, send that my way. There's some teams, though, I want to talk about. We talked about the draft. The future is going to come, but we need to talk about this year. We're going to start with teams, and then there are a couple players I want to highlight. Let's start with the National League West. This past week, the Rockies, Eddie Buchholz, took 2 of 3 over the San Francisco Giants and brother Ryan Buchholz. As we've heard on Happy Hour here, or not Happy Hour, on Brenton's Slurred Minutes editions of MLB Pro Baseball Talk, the Rockies are easily the most complete offense in baseball. Hideki Abe, Will Myers, Jock Peterson, Jed McKinley, Ramon Zaragoza, and another player that I feel like is going under the radar here, Carlos Correa. Is anyone talking about Carlos Correa? He has 7 homers this year. He had 6 last year in 568 at-bats. His ability to extend the Rockies lineup, it's tough to pitch around anyone in Colorado. And you pair that with a pitching staff that I think is better than anyone expected. And the Rockies are a team that aren't going away anytime soon. Well, the Rockies aren't going away. I think there's another team in the National League that isn't going away. It's a team that had a disappointing 2018 season and is not having a disappointing 2019 season. That, of course, is the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that was terrific in spring training, a team that has carried that on into the regular season. Clayton Kershaw, 5-0. Clayton Kershaw, a dominant Clayton Kershaw at the top of the order, top of the rotation. He makes that team just more dangerous. And then you pair that with Dave Smith. You pair that with Jared Parker, who was brought in free agency, and they have a dynamite 1, 2, 3 in the rotation. There are question marks in the back end. Last year it was Houston Street blowing leads. This year it's been Austin Adams, who has been up and down. The rest of the bullpen, terrific. But I do think the 9th inning is a concern. I'm not concerned, though, with the lead. 8.5 game lead. The Cardinals are going to win the Central. What? Here we are, May 10th. Cardinals are going to win the Central. The race to watch in the National League Central is potentially for the number 1 pick. Could the Pirates get it? Could the Cubs maybe get it a second year in a row? The Brewers under new front office leadership? There's a lot there at the bottom to watch. Elsewhere in the National League, the Braves have now won 8 in a row. But we talk about the Braves all the time. We know what the Braves are. We know what the Mets are. I don't think we know how good the Miami Marlins are. Starters ERA 5th best. Bullpen ERA 4th best. They've allowed the 3rd fewest runs in the National League. This is despite the fact that they have the 10th best defensive efficiency. They're playing atrocious defense behind terrific pitchers. They now sit at 20-17. They've only hit 21 homers coming into today. But you look at the trio of Walker Buehler, Lance McCullers, John Lamb. You have a dynamic 1, 2, 3. This offseason, they brought in Antonio Bastardo. Signed him to a 1-year deal. They needed Bastardo to come in and be a shutdown lefty. And he has. Lefty opponents are 3 for 19 off of Bastardo. All 3 hits were singles. He struck out 10 batters. 10 lefties. I don't know if the Marlins can stay in contention with the Braves all season long. Or the Mets, rather. Both the Mets and the Braves. I don't know if they're going to be able to contend for a wild card spot all season long, mainly because of how good the National League West is. But if they do falter, Antonio Bastardo is going to allow the Marlins to bring in a terrific prospect. There was going to be a team that sees Bastardo as a terrific trade chip come the trade deadline. But when you have the dynamic pitching that they have, they might not go away anytime soon. And that brings me to the American League version of the Miami Marlins in my book. Another team that's surprising early on. The 19-19 Detroit Tigers. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels, who had won 12 in a row. This is a team that is 7-3 in 1-1 games. But there's question marks on how they're doing it. They're 7th in runs scored, 12th in runs allowed. I don't quite see it. Josh Johnson, terrific. 6-1 ERA, 2.68, 53 innings pitched. It's back to Cy Young, Josh Johnson. The bullpen, up and down. It's been a great start for Ed Walker. He hasn't been overpowering, but he's been successful. Joey Votto, back in Will Groove. Subpar 2018, he hit 235. Much better this year. 3 games out of first place. Another team like the Marlins, I think they have no shot at a wild card. The American League East and the American League West have those pretty much on lockdown, I think. But the Tigers, they're only 3 behind Minnesota. It's not a given, albeit it is a tremendous uphill battle. When the season began, I think the American League East was one of the hardest divisions to predict. We had the Baltimore Orioles coming off of a 100-plus win season last year. We had the Blue Jays playoff appearance last year. They bring back all these pieces. They add pieces. They were very active all off season. New York Yankees, new front office with Rhett, bringing in every power hitter known to man. The Red Sox quietly rebuilding. And then there's the Tampa Bay Rays. Did anyone... I mean, I know we saw it coming, but did we see it coming? A team that was decimated by injuries in 2018. The Cincinnati Reds got all the headlines with injuries, but Tampa Bay had just as many. A team that midway through the 2018 season decided to look ahead to 2019. They brought in Steven Strasburg. They brought in Felipe Almonte. They brought in Jordan Walden. All have been terrific. The Rays now, they're 2nd in runs scored in the American League, despite being 7th in batting average, 10th in on-base percentage, and 6th in slugging percentage. They're scoring runs without their guys even getting hits or getting on base. If those numbers change at all, they're going to score even more runs. Starters ERA, 3rd best in the American League. Bullpen, 7th best. It's the 7th best despite the fact that Jordan Walden and Felipe Almonte have been terrific in the 8th and 9th inning. The problems come between the starters leaving and getting to the 8th. Mac Davis, J.P. Howell, not so great. They need to fix that. Jason Wiley has been solid in 19 appearances for the Rays, but he's on pace for 109 innings of work. He's never pitched more than 70 in his career at any level. Can a 6-man bullpen last? I don't think so, especially in the American League. We see this too often. The matchups are too important. That said, let's not forget something. There's one more injured piece of the Rays that is coming back sooner rather than later. And it's no small piece. We're 4 weeks away from the return of Lucas Giolito. Is that going to push maybe Tyrell Jenkins to the bullpen? Is it going to push Tyrell Jenkins to the trade block? Is it going to push someone else to the trade block? But a pair of Giolito and Strasburg with the dynamic duo of Walden and Amont at the back end, Tampa Bay's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't expect the Blue Jays to fold. Obviously, the Blue Jays are right there to half game out. It's going to be a fun battle in the American League East all season long. Out on the West, we're just about where we were last year. The Angels, Mariners, and Rangers have separated themselves a little bit. The Astros are showing signs, and the A's has been a disappointing start in Oakland. I think Oakland is heading in the right direction. I think they've been just decimated by bad luck. I don't think anyone saw Juan Ormas coming over this year and pitching as poorly as he had. I do think good things are ahead, but I want to focus on the top right now. The Angels, 12-game winning streak before losing 2 in a row in Detroit. Was the Detroit series a sign of things to come, though? They have the best record in baseball, but is that a mirage of some sort? The bullpen's terrific. The offense is what it's always been, but the starter's ERA is 10th best in the American League. Ryan Copeland, not what he has been in the past. There's just a sense that they don't have a pitcher who can throw it by anyone anymore. And then injuries. 3 injuries in the last 2 weeks. Takahashi Ishikawa, Nomar Mazutaro Oyashi. Without Oyashi and Mazzara, the Angels lineup is a giant question mark. A lineup that also includes Daniel Paolini, who coming into today was 2 for 20 in May, who is hitting 195 on the season. He's a guy that the Angels at times have hit second in the lineup, that they've hit 7th in the lineup. I don't think they know where the hell to hit him. He can't get a hit. He's getting on base. He's drawing walks, but 2 for 20 is becoming a problem in Anaheim. And Seattle's not going anywhere. You're looking at a team that's 26-13 in the Mariners, and a team with Mark Baker that, like Paolini, is hitting under 200. Mark Baker's track record of hitting near 300 is a lot higher than that of Paolini. So I expect Baker in Seattle to return to form anytime now. And he's a piece that will send the Mariners back near the top of the league. There is just no question about it. Anything catch anyone's eye tonight? Any last minute topics that we need to discuss? Oh, there were 2 other big things that I want to talk about. We got record watch. I don't know if anyone has noticed this, but there are 2 records in particular that to me that are going to be broken this year. The first one, Arturo Moreno of Texas. I think the Angels and the Mariners get all the attention, but Arturo Moreno is on pace for 248 hits. He's on pace to shatter Ben Revere's 216 hit record of 2012. This is the same Arturo Moreno who hit 272 in his first full season last year. If he can hit 300 this year, in front of the rest of the power, the middle of that lineup, you know what? Why can't Texas beat the Angels and the Mariners? Texas is loaded, has better pitching than the Angels do. Their pitching is not as good as the Mariners, but their lineup is better than Seattle. Texas might be able to hang in there. The other player that I need to highlight here tonight, it's a player that we've discussed plenty in the past. It's a player with a bad reputation, but it's a player that maybe has turned a corner. Of course, I'm talking about the big guy, Miguel Velasquez. Can he pass the 58 homers hit by Zhu Liang Wang of the Texas Rangers in 2014? Velasquez, 16 homers. He had 6 in a 3-day span last week. He has 8 since May 3rd. Most importantly, though, he's remaining a pleasant person in the New York locker room. Could it have been that he just needed to be in a big market after all this time? He enjoys the lights. Maybe all that attention's getting to him, and he's just shining at the biggest moment. But he's a guy that we know is going to remain in that lineup and hitting in New York, 58 homers. I think he's going over. I'm today, May 10th. Put me down for 62 homers for Miguel Velasquez. I'm feeling it. Anyways, it looks like we have no comments tonight, no last minute questions. So it felt good to be back in here. Scott, sorry guys again for holding up the sim. That's my fault for the YouTube confusion. Got it all figured out, so I'll be able to do this again in the future. Brenton thank you again for allowing me to take in a spot here online. I know you've been doing a terrific job, and I appreciate that. Appreciate that greatly because I had been busy, and the more the merrier here on MLB Pro YouTube channel. So Brenton, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening. And that's another edition of MLB Pro Happy Hour. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I will be back soon. Take care, guys.